All right. Well,
Stay
what
on.
we're gonna cover today is the basics of comping. And I'm gonna run through first off just what comping means so that we're all on the same page as far as what we're referring to when we talk about comping. So the word comping comes from finding a comparable, a comparable. And what you're really looking for is the after repair value of something, not the comparable of its current state, but the comparable of the state it's going to be in once you're done with the project. So if, whether you're wholesaling or you're buying to fix and flip or you're buying to rent, you're still looking at it as the end result for that particular property. So the end result will be different if you're working with a retail property versus a rental property. So you want to keep in mind what the end purpose of that property will be. So, there's areas that are typically more rental neighborhoods, and there's areas that are more retail neighborhoods, homesteader neighborhoods. So if you know what the purpose is going to be, that's what you look for in the after repair value. And typically you'll see that when you're actually looking at the area, the comps, you'll see a difference in how at the level of upgrades that are put into the house. So typically, unless you're in a really high-end neighborhood, you'll see stone for retail, stone countertops, but you won't see that for rentals. So if you're in a high-end neighborhood where they're paying a lot for rentals, perhaps you might see that. But you can typically distinguish between the two, and your neighborhood will kind of dictate what the end results will be for that type of property. If it's a duplex, it's typically not going to be high-end, like stone countertops. But you can look at the neighborhood and that'll give you an idea of what you're shooting for. So that's the comp, that's the after repair value that you want to try to do. What we're going to do now is actually go to Privy and look up some properties and see how we can filter to find that comparable value. So I'd like to ask if anybody has a property that you want to comp, we can do that now as part of our practice so that we can actually comp your property. Anybody want to raise their hand or put it in the chat? Yolanda got yours up super fast. So Yolanda, what's that property? Let me just share my screen here and we'll look at it together.
Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
It's 225 Roxbury Drive.
Is that ROX?
ROXBURY Drive, and that's in Riverdale, Georgia.
I'm sorry, BUR?
That's it right there. I saw it. Roxbury Drive, right there.
Got it. All right, cool. So 150 is where it's listed. Yeah, typically you won't see a whole lot of pics, right? Sometimes you'll have to go to Zillow, especially in Georgia. It doesn't have a lot of the data that other places have within Privy. So we can go look at the condition elsewhere, if you wanted to see the condition. Today's deal or no deal, we're not focusing on condition, but I'll just show you real quick what I would do to check out the condition for those sort of things. So you can come into Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Realtor.com, and you can pretty frequently find more pictures if you're in a non-MLS area for Privy. I'm just going to check out a couple more of these to see.
Yeah, that was the only one I was able to find.
Okay, yeah, so that's probably it. But I like to do that just kind of, the way I look at things even before I comp, I'll just take a look at the property just to get a feel of it. But going down to the comps, so here's the box, right? It gives you a half mile square around this property. And that's generally the area you want to stay in for, especially for your metro type properties. When you get out rural, you'll have to expand this, and you can expand it by zooming out and then taking your pencil and then, you know, penciling whatever larger area you want to find the comps in that larger area. We're in the area of the city. So this is Riverdale. So we already had plenty. We don't need to do this. So I'm just going to undo what I just did and zoom back in to get it back to where it was. Okay, so automatically Privy will, it has a comp algorithm, and it'll try to strip out anything that's not a comp based off of the square footage. So you can see down here, the square footage is 1167. All of these are in the range of 1167. Well, this one doesn't tell us what it is, and we can't really use that for a comp anyway. So I'm just going to get rid of that. So that's an advantage of not using the all activity button, is that it's already pre-filtering for you a quote unquote comp. So that helps. It's one layer out of the process. Another layer that you want to keep in mind is you always want to stay in the neighborhood. So this half-mile square doesn't really tell you if you're in the neighborhood. So a neighborhood is basically like similar type houses. Anytime you cross a major road, you very well might be looking at a different type of a house. So if you see, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can kind of see this is a major road here. Here's a major road. This looks like it might be a major road. So what I would do, I could either take the pencil and try to pencil this out and you know, try to get it like that. That was a very quick pull at it. That can do the job. Or another way you can do it is simply hover over this and hit the eye thing right there and get rid of it that way, which is easier if you just have one or two properties to get out of the viewpoint. So now you've got the neighborhood down. You're not using the all activity. If at all possible, you don't want to use it because that makes it a whole lot easier. And then you come down here and you want to filter out anything that's not after repair value house. So like we talked about a minute ago, a comp is after the project is done. So a typical project, you know, it might be for a basic rehab. You might have to put in $40 per square foot. And if you think about the amount that a rehab costs, it might, you know, for $1,000 square foot house, in this case, it's a 1,200 square foot house. If it's $40 per square foot, you know, you're looking at something like $50,000, right? And you have to have 10, 15K of money going into it for your wholesale fee. They need to have 10% profit margin. Typically, this sort of house is going to be, I'm going to just guess 300K. So that's going to be a 30K profit margin. And then you have your closing costs. So when you think about it, are you going to find an after repair value that's $128 per square foot? It's not going to be in that range. So, you know, if you look at, I'll give you guys a quick calc that you can do on your computer or your hand calculator. If you're looking at a 300K property and you have 1,200 square feet of property square footage, what's the dollar per square foot for that $300,000 property? Anybody want to spit it out? What would be the dollar per square foot for that property? 300,000 after repair value, 1,200 square feet. I see a 250. Yeah, so it's going to be in that range. I didn't calc it out, but that's, yeah, okay, 250, good. What about let's say we're in a neighborhood that's more expensive. It's a $500,000 house, and it's a, you're not going to have a 1,200 square foot property typically in that sort of neighborhood. Maybe it's a 2,000 square foot property. What's going to be the dollar per square foot? $500,000 house, 2,000 square feet. Okay, let's give another one. Let's say it's $800,000 and it's a $3,000 square foot house. Yeah, 266, 267. So what you're typically going to see is an after repair value is going to be somewhere between 200 and 300. Not always the case, but that can kind of put your mind in the mindset of what you're looking for. It's not going to be $128 a square foot. So one of the quick filters you can do over here is sort it by square foot and get rid of anything that is super low, because that is not going to be a comp. The fact that it sold at $80 per square foot, that tells you that is not an after repair value. I don't even have to open the thing to know that. I'll open it just to show you. Okay, so this is the house condition. There's not a lot of pics, but it's so low in price tag and dollar per square foot, I automatically know it's not a comp. So without even having to research it, I'm just going to hide it. I don't want it in my view. So now I'm left with these four that I'm working with. So what I would typically do in the case of not using the all activity button is I will keep it sorted by dollar per square foot, and I'll just take a peek at each of these, working my way down. Now, keep in mind, in the Atlanta area, in Georgia, it doesn't have MLS data. So the pictures don't necessarily mean this is what the condition of the house is. So I'll grab that address and I'll go Google it real quick just to see if it looks like an after repaired house on the other sites. So I only see one picture. Let me back up again. Well, they're not giving a lot of pictures. It does say here, this home has been renovated. It's kind of funny, they don't give any pictures if it's renovated. So that one's questionable to me, if it's a comp, being as that it says that it's renovated, but there's no pictures posted anywhere. So I'm just going to put this on the sidebar right now. The dollar per square foot seems extremely low for a renovated house, and I don't have pictures to confirm anything. I'm not going to hide it yet. I'm just going to keep it here for the moment, and I'm going to look at the next one down. And again, I'm going to grab this address and see if I can find some more pics out here in Google that I can see if this is a after repair house or not. The idea is to get rid of anything that is not after repair value. Very clean, beautiful home, or ideal for investment. Let me try a Zillow. Yeah, so there's no pics for this one either, which makes me feel like this is also not a rehab house. Anytime an investor is going to rehab a house, they're going to make sure that the marketing is on track to sell at the highest dollar. So yeah, the fact that there's no pics makes me believe that these are not rehab houses. These two, I see the stack. So the stack is where you have the bolded one below the other one. And that is Privy's algorithm that says this was a rehab house. Part of the algorithm is that it was purchased and sold within a 12-month span. So that is an indicator that somebody bought it as a project and sold it. The difference in price tag, as well as the percentage ARV that they bought it at, are also indicators. So this basically, without looking at it, you kind of know it's a rehab, but we're going to take a peek at it. And, you know, typically you can tell by the kitchen and the bathroom and the flooring. So this looks like it's been updated, and it already showed me that it was by the stack. So I can see the difference in the property before and after. So that's definitely rehab. I'm going to take a peek at this one. And again, I'm seeing, you know, a clear difference in the before and the after. Let me hide this thing that's blocking it. Yeah. So it looks nice and clean. It's not the highest end product, but it's a rehab property. So these two are clearly rehabbed. These are not. When I look at my dollars per square foot, this must be in a neighborhood that's more like a rental neighborhood, because they're going at a lower dollar per square foot than you would most often see in different areas. So this is outside of Georgia, outside of Atlanta is probably why, but when you get into Atlanta itself, I'm sure you'll be looking at a well over $200 per square foot. So these two I'm not going to count as a comp. These two I will. So there's, once you get down to 1 or 2, you can shoot for the an exact match or a closest match. And when you look at this, you want to cross out anything that is that could disqualify it as a comp. So we already did the square foot. These are close enough that you can keep it. This one's almost the same. It's almost identical. 3-1, 3-1, 0 garage, 1 level, no basement, 1964. So without even looking at the property picture and comparing it to the picture of our subject property, I can kind of see that this is a good comp right here. And it's coming in. If you have the square footage practically the same, all the details are practically the same, you can simply use this number right here, 218. And that's like the easiest, fastest way to grab a comp number is 218. You can also take this $185 per square foot, multiply it by your square foot, and you'll come up with a number that's very similar. It might be like 215, but that's, you know, it's going to be in the same ballpark. What I'm going to do just to make sure is I'm going to look at 38 Oldenburg. So here's our house. 38 Oldenburg is this house. It looks quite similar. They both have the brick. They both are kind of a ranch looking style. So I would definitely call this my one comp that I want to go off of. And I would grab either this number of 218 if I want to be super fast on it, or I would multiply out the 185 times the 1167 to get a more closer match number. But, you know, a lot of people will just basically take this number. If it wasn't such an exact match, then I would definitely do it slightly different. So I'm going to definitely use this one in this case, but I'm going to show you now how you would do it differently if you didn't have such an exact match. Hold on, let me look at the chat here. So Yolanda, feel free to speak up too. We're working on your property. I went with 180 per square foot. I came up with 210. Yeah, you know, that's pretty close. 180 versus 185. That's not a problem. 210 versus 218. You know, we're definitely in the ballpark. So
yeah, but I should have went with the 185 just to not beat myself out of, you know, a couple of pennies, a couple of dollars, whatever.
yeah, you know, no one's gonna shoot you because you went for a 210 instead of a 218. And
Right. Okay. So that was pretty good.
was that?
So the seller wants $50,000 down and 7% interest for 360 months.
Okay, so
Seller direct, no
Yeah.
mortgage, no
Uh-huh.
agent, just escrow. I gave it a rental budget of 60,000 and with sitting costs of $5,000.
Right. Yeah.
Does that sound like I'm
So,
moving in the right direction with that?
Yolanda, I would have to know more about the condition of the property.
Okay,
And I want to make sure that I stay on track with the exercises that we're doing today as
right,
comping and not underwriting. But message me and we can go through this property in more detail.
great.
Okay. And we'll just take that offline and just look at it in more detail at another point in time. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, another one asked, should we take 10% off, Trinisha? Thank you, Trinisha. Should we take 10% off for market shifts? You very well could. And let me just show you here. Here's the sold date. And I didn't mention the sold date yet. You want to make sure that your sold date is fairly close. So if you're a very recent sell, like this is August, well, I guess it's just out of the 3 month. I like to stay within a 3 month time frame if at all possible. August, September, October, November. Yeah. So we're almost a month out of that 3 month time frame, whereas this one is in the 3 months. So Yolanda, you probably actually did better going with the 180 just simply because of the sold date being better, being closer to less. If you have to go out of the proximity, some people will use 6 months. This is actually, the algorithm is set up to give you results for 12 months, but we're in a shifting market. You really can't use something from 12 months ago. If you have nothing else to use and you go after something 6 months old, you can take 10% off, maybe even 15% off, and you'll be fine. Just because you're accounting for the shift in the market by taking that percent off. If you have something that's very recently sold, you don't necessarily have to take that off. But another factor you want to take into account when you're talking about taking a percent off is how long will that rehab take? So, if it's a lipstick or a cosmetic, those are fast. You can get in and out of those fast. And so if you have a recent comp and it's a quick flip, you might not need to take that 10% off. But if it's a basic rehab or even a gut or a teardown, then it's going to take longer. And during that time it takes to flip it, to fix it and flip it, the market could shift against you. So if that was the case, even though you might be looking at a October or November sold date, you still might want to take off that 10-15% simply because of how long it's going to take you to rehab and sell the place. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, Trinisha?
Yes, it does.
Awesome. Right on. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to pretend like these exact or close matches weren't here. And again, Yolanda, after looking at the sold date, which I forgot to look at, I would definitely go with the 180 instead of the 185 because of the fact that this one is more than 3 months old. So you're good. So now what I'm going to do is, and by going with the 180, you definitely want to multiply it by the square foot because this one is significantly larger. So now I'm going to pretend like a close match was not available And sometimes that's the case. These just simply were not available. So I'm gonna hide them. And now what do I do if I don't have something I can work with? I go to all activity. And now this is gonna show me a whole bunch more. And the first thing again that I need to do is I only wanna look at our neighborhood, nothing across a major road. So I'm gonna get rid of this one. This one looks like it's the other side of the road. These might be too far out. I'm not really sure yet, but I definitely got rid of anything across the borders of these major roads. I think that one's in the border. Let me double check this. No, it's across, so I'm gonna get rid of that one. So now that I'm in the neighborhood, the first thing I'm gonna do, if it's a comp, it's gonna be in the ballpark of the square foot. We're looking at 1,200 square feet. So this time I need to make sure we're in the ballpark. Last time I didn't have all activity. Privy did that step for me. But now that's a step I have to do because I use all activity. These don't show the square feet. I could potentially research them. It takes more time and the data is not all here. I don't think I need to do that. So I'm just going to hide them and not worry about these, that it's not giving me the square foot. 200 is definitely out. You want to stay within, on this size of property, a couple hundred square feet. If you're dealing with a large property like 3,000, you can go more than 200 square feet. But on a small property like this, you definitely want to stay within a couple hundred square feet. So I'm going to get rid of this one. I'm going to keep this one solely for the fact that it was renovated. I see the stack. Even though it's under 200 square feet difference, it's below 250. It's renovated, so that might be a valuable piece to look at. This one's under. I'm going to get rid of that. Now I'm going to sort it the other way and get rid of the ones that are way bigger, like this one and this one. They're just too big to be a comp. So again, too big to be a comp, even though it's renovated, it's way bigger. All right, so now we're within that 200 square foot range. Now I'm gonna filter out anything that is too low in dollar amount. So this one I know is too low because it's even lower than our subject property. So that one's a gone one. This one is more than likely too low. You know, we might be prejudiced already of knowing our numbers because we already looked at that 180, but still, this is more than where we're at. So I'm going to double check this. So I'm going to open it up, take a look at the property. I don't see anything here. So I'm going to come over to Google it, open it up in Zillow. No pics. I'm beginning to wonder if this is an issue of the area, why I'm not seeing any pics anywhere. It's odd. No pics. Interesting. Was that, did I have pics? No, I didn't. All right. Well, anyway, no pics. So it could simply be that it's not rehabbed. So I'm going to leave this for the moment because I didn't see pics. I'm going to look at this one. Now this one looks cleaned. It looks like somebody did some work to it. Yeah. So this one looks like a rehab. It looks like a rental rehab based off of the tiny kitchen that they left there, but it's a pretty good rental type rehab. So definitely would not just exclude this one because its pic shows that it's in pretty decent shape. This one is significantly lower, so I'm going to go ahead and hide that one. And then this one is stacked. So it's a rehab, 172, 163, 174. These, once I find something that's been rehabbed or it looks like it might have been rehabbed, I'm not going to delete anything in between until I get all the way to the top. And if there's something that looks odd, like sometimes you might see something like all of these are in the, 170s, 180s, 200, but 282, that is an outlier. So if you see any outliers, once you get rid of the bottom end, you just get rid of the outliers on the top end because that doesn't match everything else in the neighborhood. The outlier might be a package deal where they actually sold 2 or more properties together, or it might be for some other reason it just sold higher. It could be like an additional unit, ADU or something like that. But we're just going to hide this because it's an outlier and it doesn't match all the other props. So now that we've filtered it down to these, we have to do some other filtering to get us in the ballpark. So we're dealing with a 3-1 single level, no basement, no garage. So if I saw others that had a basement, a 2-level, a garage, I would filter them out before I would do the beds and baths. I see that this one here is a basement. I'm going to get rid of that one. This one is a basement. I'm going to get rid of that one. Now, those 2 that I'm getting rid of were actually the ones that showed the stack. So this is going to probably swing me down a little bit in the price tag because I got rid of the stack. But I see a 3-1, 4-2, 3-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-2. So this is below all of these in baths and closer to these when it comes to beds. So looking at the year, all of these are in the build generation. Looking at the dates, this one is kind of older. So I'll get rid of that one. And this one's kind of older. I'll get rid of that one. And now I'm left with these 3. I would go right down the middle as a quick, easy, dirty way of doing it at 174. Now you can also look at the neighborhoods and see where they're located. The goal is to get it as close as possible. The further away, the less likely it's actually going to be a comp. This one's sitting right on Upper Riverdale Road. So I would not want to be right on the road for a true comp because it could affect the value. The 223 one might actually be the closest one. So going down here, the 223 was the middle of the road, 174. So before we came up with, it was 180, right, Yolanda?
Yes, it was 180.
Yeah. So if, once we step, I actually got rid of those. I hid them because I wanted to see what the all data would give me without them. If they're actually sitting in these numbers because I hadn't hidden them, it would sway the number higher than what we're currently showing because it would show the 3-1, it would show the 180, it would show the stack. So that reality not being here has swayed the number lower than what it would be if I hadn't hidden it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But I wanted to go through this practice to show you how you would work with the data if you had to use the all activity and just go for a closest match. If you don't use the all activity, then you can go for an exact match or a nearly exact match. But if you have to go for all activity, you're probably going to end up with a closest match. So our closest match here is the middle one, 174. And if you had 5 close matches, again, I just go for the middle one. So you filter out the bottom level, and then you filter out the outliers at the top end, and then you filter out anything that's not a match for like your garages, your basements, your build gen, and get rid of old stuff. And now what you're left with is something that's in the ballpark for everything. So the square foot, 1278 is just a little bit bigger. So you take this 174, multiply it by this, and that's what you come up with. It's not going to be correct because I hid properties that are actual better matches, but it helps us to see you know, where our ballpark number would lie. All right, let's see what we got in the chat. Jennifer, sometimes when you click on it, it will show the square feet. Oh, you're talking about the ones that I hid initially that didn't show the square foot, I'm imagining. Gotcha. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate that input. James, what do you do when the lot is significantly different? Like 1 acre, 0.5, 0.25? Yeah, so you typically want to stay, if you're in the same neighborhood in a city, you'll probably see that the lot size is kind of similar. In this case, we see one that says 0. Well, that's obviously wrong. But you know, 1,600, 9,000, 11, 1,200, I'm sorry, 12,000. I'm not going to be concerned about that variance at all. If it was significantly different, like a 1 acre, you're probably talking about something that's not really in that neighborhood, because you've moved out of it too far. But if you're in a rural area, you can run across that more often, to where you have, like, you know, your property might be a 1/2 acre and then another one's a 1 acre. There's more variance in the rural zones. In the city, typically your house, your land accounts for like 20% of the overall value. So if you're talking about 300K overall value, the land itself accounts for like 60K of it, for that neighborhood, in the 300K neighborhood. In this case, we're looking at more like a 200K neighborhood or a little bit more. So you know, the land would account for like 45K of the property. So if you have a lot that's maybe a double lot in the city, sometimes you'll run across a double lot. I would just tack on that extra 45K, 20% of a single. If you're in a 200K neighborhood, multiply that by 20%, and that's 40K. So that double lot, you can just tack on another 40K because it's a double lot. Out in the country, it's a little bit more complicated. For the sake of this exercise, we typically want to go after properties that are in the burbs or the metro. When you're in the burbs or the metro, you're typically going to have lots. You're not going to be acreage. So acreage is totally different when you're dealing with out in the rural. And it's every area is quite different. So you'd have to hopefully find something that's, if you can find something that's bigger and something that's smaller, then you can calculate the difference. But I'm not an expert when it comes to acreage, and I don't want to mislead you by giving you an answer that I don't know about. In the city, it is typically 20% for the lot value, and you can go off of that. But I really can't tell you for the rural. Edwell, if there are properties in blue, how do they come into play? Good question, Edwell. I'm going to cover that right now for you. Let me take a look at these. Haley, what is that new color line on the right side of the property bubbles? Oh, yeah, good question. I didn't see this earlier today. I see it now. I have no idea, Haley. If anybody knows, please let us know, because I don't know what it means. Yeah, appreciate you noting that. I kind of noted it, but I was so busy going over the comping that I didn't really pay that much attention. Yeah, thanks, Haley. If anybody figures it out or finds out, let us all know, please. We'd appreciate that. All right, coming back to Edwell's question about the blue investor button. How does that come into play? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to totally reset this, bring all the original properties back. And what I want to do is, I know I'm in Riverdale, Georgia. So I'm going to go to this filter, And I'm going to set this to fix and flip. And it's fine wherever you set this. ARV 75%. I'm going to bring it down to 65% just for the fun of it. But this, by setting this MLS deals, fix and flip, and the ARV percent, that gives you the blue button. If you don't set this, you won't get the blue button. So now I'm going to run the search. And I've got one blue button deal, investor deal, that it's showing me right here. So what that's doing is it's trying to match the dollar per square foot that you put into your filter. So if you have your subject property and you're trying to find something that is similar to what you searched for. If you search for $65 or 65% of after repair value, then this blue one is a rehab that's in the ballpark of that 65% after repair value. So by using that filter, it helps one level more. So now you can go over here to the blue button, and this might be your exact match in a single click. That's like the fastest way of getting a comp, is if the blue button is there. But remember, the blue button it's simply an algorithm. So it tries to filter for a stack, a rehab that's in the percentage of the ARV value. So it may or may not be a comp, but it very well could be an exact match right there on the first try. So if you notice, where are we at? Bam. Remember that, Yolanda? So the blue button actually did all of our homework for us without going through all those other steps. 180. So that's how you get the blue button. You have to go into the chat and I'm sorry, not in the chat. Go into the filter and actually filter for that the fix and flip percent of ARV. And Ed Will, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much, Ralph.
Yeah, I should have actually brought that up first, because as you see, that's the number one thing to give you the fastest comp, is simply to use the blue button, as long as it's a match. You still have to make sure it's a match. So if I look down here at my blue button property, I can see it's in the ballpark of square feet. It's a rehab property. It's a 3.1 versus a 3.2 is pretty close. It's in the build gen. Everything looks pretty close. You could up it or lower it a tad because it's one bath, but already we're close enough that we can just go with the 180 and be good with it.
So Ralph, if it's labeled as an investor property, so it's one that's been purchased and rehabbed. So any blue labeled property is going to be stacked like that. Is that always the case or no?
I can't guarantee it's always the case. I think it's the case, but I'm not 100% sure if it's always the case.
Okay, thank you, Ralph.
As we do another, we can do another property now and then see what we end up with on that property. Somebody else have a property they want to contribute?
Can we just take a quick look at that flip on this blue investor property?
No, I want to do another comp.
Oh, okay.
I have one up there. I have an address up there.
What was that?
I have one. It's in the beginning.
Okay, cool. But I will get back to you, Yolanda. You can just DM me in Discord and we can go over that, okay? All right, what is the address, Myrna? Did you put one in here already, Myrna?
Sorry, I did. Sorry
here it
for
is.
the pause.
I got it.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, actually, I need to be fair, and I see that somebody else entered one before you, Hilton. So I can't skip Hilton. Let me check his out, and we can do yours after Hilton, okay? Jacksonville, Florida. So we got Hilton and then Trinisha and then Myrna. I'll make sure to get to all three of your properties. So let's take a look at this one. Just to get a feel of this property. So it doesn't show me the interior. I don't know what state it's in. It looks like it's been uncared for, obviously. So I'm imagining that the inside's gonna be either basic rehab or worse. It might be a gut, I don't know. But that I just kind of have that mindset as I take a look at the comping of it. So new roof, yeah, a little TLC. Okay, so now I'm gonna come down to the actual comps. Oh, look at this. Interesting. 1258, 1498. Those are rentals, not what we're looking for. Okay, so right off the bat, I can't use the pre-existing data that the comp algorithm, because there are no comps in this particular zone. So the next thing I'm going to do is go to all activity. And that's going to show me more. I don't want to look at rentals. I don't want to look at active. I don't want to look at pending. The reason we don't look at these are, well, obviously rentals giving me a rental value, not a price tag for the house. But just because it's active or pending doesn't mean it's going to sell at the list price. It might be pending 20,000 under the list price. We don't know that. So just because it's pending, you cannot use that data. You know, stay away from pending and active if at all possible. Pending is a little bit better than active, but it still doesn't tell you much at all. So stick with sold. And what I'm going to do too, just to make sure, I'm gonna use that same blue button. Okay, good. It is already set to fix and flip ARV. So that being done already, then oh, did I close it out? This is the property, right? Yeah. All right, so there are no blue buttons. We don't need to worry about that. We just have these 9 sold. Not a lot of properties to work with. I see a major road here. This one's got to go for certain. Here's our property. These, you know, I don't have a lot of properties, so I can't delete too many too quick. Otherwise, I'll have 0. You never can end up with 0. If you have 0 comps, then you don't have a comp. You got to have something to work with to comp. An exact match or several close matches will do the job. So now I want to get rid of ones that are way off as far as either square foot or dollar per square foot. So I'm going to start here with square foot. I'm at 2,400. The closest match is 19. So I'm not going to end up with a 2,400, but I'm going to get rid of, well, before I do that, let me go to the dollar per square foot. I'm going to get rid of this one because it's at 55. This one says it's rehabbed at 128. These don't say, but they all could potentially be in the ballpark. I'm looking at the builds. I see this one's a 2007. That does not compare. So I'm going to get rid of that one because it's a 2007. The dates, I've got a couple over here that are old. I might get rid of them. But, you know, once you get down to a small data set and no exact match, you want to make sure to not filter out too many and then have to start over again. I've done that a million times. So we don't necessarily know the lot size. So there is quite a variance in lot size, 27,000. That's over a ½ acre. This one's about a ½ acre. And then these are typical small city lots. That's something to keep in mind. But looking over here at the square footage, this one is quite tiny. This one's actually much closer in size. So I would be tempted to get rid of this one just because it's so tiny. If I change this side here, I can see that the tiny one was actually up here on the larger dollar per square foot. it's not really a comp because of its size. So I'm just gonna get rid of it. Same thing with these. These are very small. I'm gonna get rid of them because they're just too small to really validate as a comp. So I'm left with these three. These two being still significantly smaller than this one. I'm tempted just to go with this one because of it's close to the size. The 128 just seems extremely low. I would not expect a rehab to be $128 per square foot. But let me just take a peek at this one. Okay. So it looks like they did like a cosmetic type job. It doesn't look bad, but it's not a high end either. So this is the neighborhood you're working with. So a comp has to be something that's similar for that neighborhood. So looking at all three of these, this is a 3-3, this is a 3-3. These are 3-2s. The date's approximately right. This one's an older house. I'm just going to get rid of that one. And we're left with these two. This one being the more exact match. So I'm going to get rid of this one too. And I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to go with the 128. So I'm not going to use this price tag because we're dealing with a property that is significantly different in square foot. So I'm going to take the 128 and multiply it by the 2414 to give me a value. 128 times 2414, 309. That's what I would come up with. Whose property is this again? You can just unmute yourself. Hilton, is this Hilton? Yeah. So Hilton, does that answer your question? Does that help you out for comping your property? All right, I'm gonna move on. Hilton may not be available at the moment. Trinisha, 633 Kelso Drive. Can you help me out, Tanisha? I don't know what city this is in or anything. Is that Dallas?
Oh, yep, it's in Dallas.
Okay, cool. All right, here we are. Oh, it's a nice looking place. Oh my, it's a nice looking grandma's place. Nothing against grandma. I love grandma. But yeah. Okay. So it has a really nice looking exterior. This would be a great property to fix and flip. Yeah, I see something going on here with the roof. So without a lot of examination, I would probably say this is like a basic rehab. You know, if they could get rid of these poles somehow, maybe they'll probably have to replace that beam, but I don't know. I would, it's in pretty decent shape. Oh, it looks like there might be a crack on the floor. It might be wrong, but it looks like there might be a crack going through here. So yeah, I mean, that's the shape. It might be basic, perhaps a little bit more, but man, the exterior is a nice looking place. It's got a lot of curb appeal. So anyway, coming down to take a look at the actual properties or comparables. So it's saying 2 comps in the neighborhood. This is definitely right there in the neighborhood. I don't have to cross anything off the list. If I look down here, here are my 2 properties. We're looking at this one stacked, which is great. It's at 73%. It didn't mark it blue because of the filter. Let me show you here. I'm going to take this filter And instead of 65, I'm going to bring this up to 75 and run the search. And now you notice it marked it blue because it's in the range of the 75%, as opposed to what I had set for the filter as 65. It's showing up blue now because 73 is close to 75. So we've got this stack. It's in the ballpark of square foot. So, you know, we can see it's interesting. They made this one a 5-bedroom. Man, 1,400 square foot into a 5-bedroom. I don't think I would have done that. That's only I mean, those are tiny little rooms. But anyway, it's the same year. Everything looks good to be an exact match. So I would use this one here as an exact match at 193 to do the super fast job of comping it. Does that work for you, Tanisha, or is that are you the one I'm comping for right now?
Yes, you're absolutely fine. And I don't want to take too much time, but I remember at one point we was like taking like 10 off for like extra bedrooms and whatnot like that. But I like this one better. Just yeah.
Yeah, you know, this one here, they put a lot of bedrooms in a smaller house that's not really called for. So I would not, you know, some people might take off 10K for a bedroom or two, maybe 20K for 2 bedrooms. But the fact is, you don't, they made their bedrooms too small. I wouldn't put 5 bedrooms in this tiny of a house. So because of that, I think their price tag shows that, you know, although they have 5 bedrooms, I don't think they got the price tag of a 5-bedroom house just because they divided up the rooms too small, in my opinion. I'm gonna take a peek at this. It looks like a nice looking place. Unless their square foot is off. Well, the bedrooms are a little bit small. Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty small bedroom. So, you know, you could potentially drop it for the fact that it's a 3-bedroom versus a 5, but I have a feeling that they got less because of the fact that that they squeezed an extra bedroom in there where it really didn't belong. So if you wanted to drop this a little, you could from 193, you know, you might drop it down, or I should say, because you're such a close fit, well, this is 200 square feet more. So because it's more, or it's actually 150, I would go closer off of this 193 number. So if you want to drop 10K, that might work. So I would take 193 times the 1270, and whatever that calculates out to, just drop it 10K, because they squeezed in 2 more bedrooms, but maybe they got an extra 10K value out of it because of an extra bedroom. I don't think I'd give it 20K extra though, because of 2 bedrooms. I think that the square feet just doesn't call for that many bedrooms.
Okay,
I'm
sounds good.
in an 1886 square feet. And we have 4 bedrooms. And to me, that feels about right. I can't imagine living in a 5-bedroom house that's only 1,400 square foot. The ratio doesn't sound right.
Okay.
It could be a 4. I could envision this being a 4, just a tight 4. And you know, so that's 1 extra bed and 1 extra bath. Man, they squeezed a lot in that house. So, you know, you could potentially drop it a little bit more because it's lacking a bed and a bath, maybe 20K less. That's probably what I would do, because I didn't notice that. Oh no, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong property. Let me get rid of this one because it's throwing me off. That's the one we're looking at. So it does have the right bath. It just doesn't have the right bed. So yeah, I would just take 10K off.
Okay.
Well, you
Thank
know, it does have an extra it's a 2-car garage instead of a 1. That kind of equalizes it to some degree. You could still drop it maybe 5K, but you're in the ballpark. You're lacking on bedroom, but you got a 2 garage instead of a 1 garage. So they kind of equalize to a certain degree.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, if you don't have an exact match, it's not an exact science. So you could, as appraisers might do, they'll appraise it a little bit more for the beds and a little bit less for the bath issue. And you're going to equalize to some degree. The square footage, though, I think that, if anything, you might drop in value just a tad, maybe 5K or so, but you're going to be in the ballpark. So you're fine. There's always going to be some things that are, everyone's going to comp it slightly different, but this is definitely going to be in the ballpark.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
You betcha. Let's see who we have next. All right, so now Myrna, we have not done your property, Myrna, right? In Phoenix?
Yep,
All right, we're gonna do that right now.
thank you.
You betcha. Oh, that's a beautiful house. Wow, 600K. So this must be a higher end neighborhood.
It's being sold for $475,
Oh, it is.
and the realtor thinks we could get it for maybe around $450. And I have a buyer that's looking at it for a rental, and she just wants to make sure that she'll start making a profit on day one.
So it's listed at 600 and they're dropping to 450.
Yeah,
Good,
purchase price $450.
good. That sounds like a good potential for you. Okay, so looking down here, of course, I don't see the interior pics. I don't know condition, but if it's in rental ready condition, man, that looks like a good deal. So coming down here, we've got 2 blue buttons, 2 investors. So you don't want to do the active. So I'm just going to get rid of that. So now we've got 1 investor, which is this one. It's the same property. So this property here, the square foot is about the same. Dollar per square foot, 448. Nice. The bill gen is about the right amount. This is a little bit older. We'll have to discount for the age. If we're simply going to go off the blue button, we don't see the beds, but baths, garage levels, we're all in the same ballpark. The house, I'm looking at this house, looks fairly similar in, in the design. So I would say it's a comp, but because of the age, if I was just simply going to go off the blue button comp, which is not what I would do, because it's older. I did, if there's more options, I prefer not to go older, but because it's an older house, I'd probably take 15, maybe even 20% off because of its age, the fact of when it was sold. But I'm going to go over here and look at sold instead. And that's going to give me the blue button plus the others, and giving me more data to go off of. So now they're all still in the same square footage. These may not necessarily have been flipped. If we're looking at like a potential rental and it's already rental ready, we may not need to do a flip. So we might be able to go off of some other comps that are closer. If I do the sorting by dollar per square foot, I see this one's actually lower than our subject property, but I'm gonna take a peek at it. And yeah, I can tell, this is not quite as pretty. There's no pictures here, but it doesn't look like it's been rehabbed. So I would just probably not use that one. Let me go look at this one. Again, no pics. Is this a non-MLS data area for Privy? Do you know, Myrna? I didn't take a look. If I don't know Phoenix, I don't know if it's a non-MLS for Privy.
I don't know.
Okay, because I am not getting any pics. So this one is an outlier in price. I'm just gonna hide that. Now I'm left with these. Looking at square foot, they kind of match. The lots are close enough, I'm not gonna worry about it. Baths are good. Garage levels, they're all, everything looks appropriate. Age-wise, this one is the closest in age, 247. But I don't know the state of this property. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come over here, capture it, see if I can find some pics on this property. Wow. Yeah, this looks nice. So what this is telling me is this one here looks like an outlier for some reason. I want to take a peek at this one and see why. But that was a long time ago that it was rehabbed. Is that the one? Okay, that is the one. I don't know why that's so much higher than the others. Let me take a peek here again. I'm gonna grab this address. Come over to here. Yeah, they're rating this one so much higher than the others. I don't know why. It could be, I mean, that one, oh, am I in the right property now?
So is there a potential for the one I have to be, to have even a higher ARV?
Well, you know, I would not, I would discount this because of the fact that number one, it's old. Number two, it's an outlier. So I wouldn't go off of this because you're gonna have a hard time finding a buyer to accept that when there's these other comps in the neighborhood that are much closer to the sell date. I would just discard this one. So you have these three here,
No, I
246.
just wanted to inform her that that was the case. I wasn't gonna try to go that high,
Yeah.
go to that price.
Right. So I would go with, you know, 247 here. It's a 4-3. It's this is the latest property sold in October. It's a fairly close match and the condition looked good, if I remember right. I think we looked this one up, right? Let me double check. Yeah, and the condition looks good. So that's the comp I would go with. Oh, let me close this again. Is this one right here. So you do have yours is a larger square foot. So I would take the 247, multiply it by the 2979 because of the difference in square foot. And that's after repair value. So, you know, it has to be in a good shape like this one is to be worth the same. Does that make sense, Myrna?
Thank you so much.
You
Thank
are
you.
welcome. You betcha. All right, let's see here. It's way past time, but I don't want to leave anybody out. There's a lot of addresses here. Let's see if we can do one more. So the next one in the list here looks like Haley. 5248 Azalea Circle. And this will be the last one. Okay. All right. Just to get an idea of what the property looks and feels like. And they come down here, take a look at the comps. So I see some major roads here that I don't want to cross. So I'm going to just hide these. There we are. So these are the only ones left without hitting the all activity. Let's see if any of these will work. If they'll work, we can use them. We're left with 3 properties. They're all in the ballpark of square footage, $1 per square foot. I see this one's significantly lower than these two, even lower than our subject. I'm not even gonna bother looking at that typically. For now, I'm just gonna glance at it. And I don't see other picks. If I want to, I can grab this to see the condition over here. Yeah, so as suspected, it doesn't look like it's a rehabbed house. So I'm just going to hide it. So I'm left with these 2 properties. They're all in the same build generation, but this one here is an older sale date, and everything else seems to be, okay, so this one is a 3-2, this one is a 2-2. Ours is a 3-2. So ours is slightly better than this one, but I'm not gonna add dollars to it simply because the 3-2 actually sold for less at an older date, which is interesting. I'm gonna take a quick peek. Okay, somebody asked about the blue button and if the stack is there. Here's our answer. I think it was Edwell. We're looking at 2 properties right now that the stack is not there and it has the blue button. So let's just take a peek at these real quick. And it might simply be because of the area, and if it's a non-MLS data area, that could be the reason why. I don't know. Looking for kitchen. Yeah, so this looks like it was rehabbed. Coming over to the next property. Yeah, this one looks nice. There, let me look inside. So it does not look rehabbed. However, it looks in pretty good shape. It looks like, even though it's not a rehab because it's full of their personal possessions and all, it looks like it's in pretty good shape. So either one of those would work. This one is the older one, and it's the one that looked rehabbed. I'm gonna get rid of that one and just use this one. So 227, and that's what I would go with, times 1468. It's off by 50-ish square feet. You could potentially just use the 322. It's fairly close. If you multiply it, you're going to end up with slightly more. 325. You could just call it 325 and call it a day. All right, so that is it. I hope that helps everyone. There's a lot of other comps in here to do, but if you use the same practices, you should end up with a number that is in the ballpark. There's no exact science. You just want to try to, we're not doing this at the same level as an assessor would. We want to just get it in the ballpark. We don't want to spend an hour on it. We want to spend 5 minutes on it and move forward. So hopefully this helped, and we'll be happy to run this exercise again so that you can. Oh, by the way, we're not doing deal or no deal next week because of the fact that the elephant challenge is next week. So it'll be the week after. Mary, can you call me Friday, please? Mary, do you have my number? I'm just going to put my number in here. You can call me.
Okay, thank you.
You betcha.
What's a good time? Do you care?
You're talking about tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No, I've got a couple meetings. I can't remember offhand when they are. You can just text me and I'll let you know if it's a good time.
Okay, thank you.
You betcha. Nice talking to all of you. Nice doing this exercise with you. And if anybody is not part of Fat Juicy Deals and would like to be, you're welcome to come to our website, fatjuicydeals.com. We do have a waiting list right now. So one of the things we came to understand better is initially we had a lot of people come in that were not action takers. And we're in the process of weeding out people that are not taking action. So people that are in the waiting list, they'll be moved into their spot. We're just giving everyone a fair chance to take action and get everything they need to take action. And if they don't want to take action, then we need to put someone else in their spot. So you're welcome to join us if anybody wants to. I'm just going to put in the chat here. And that's the website. You'll see the join us link. You can go there and hit the join our team link. And then you'll be on a waiting list, and it'll probably be a couple weeks before your turn will come up. So we're in the process now of adding people and replacing people. So a lot of people came in today, I believe, that were on the waiting list. So, if you want to be on a team, we'd love to have you. You can go there and see what we're about. And if it sounds good to you, then, we'd be happy to work with you. So have a good night, everyone. Enjoy your Thursday evening and your Friday and your weekend. Talk to you later.